Hi, and welcome back to the Decades Challenge. I'm Adrian, and this is Windenburg. We have moved on into the war years, and I've created a base camp here in front of a Windenburg house. In all honesty, this house exists in the debug menu, and it is just a prop. It's a full house, not like the piece next door, but it's just a prop. You can't live there, but it does solve a few problems. So there it is. So this base camp has pup tents that are appropriate for World War I, and fires, and there's a shower in the back. There are campfires and bicycles. I put bicycles in because bicycles were and are very important vehicles in Europe. So Windenburger is very similar to Europe in its style, so I wanted to honor that 1910s feeling, and so bikes play a big role in that. You can see that this property has some war damage on it, but the expeditionary forces have set up a base camp here with which to sleep and eat and do all those things. And I think everything they need to sleep and eat and take care of the basic functions are here, including the horseshoe thing. I'm not sure how historically accurate this is, but I bet it's been around for at least 100 years. So all of their basic needs can be met in this location, and they are going to stay here just whenever the troops get pulled back. They're going to fight somewhere else. What I'm going to do is introduce you to everybody. Some of these names you already know. Oh, okay. King Johnson is the husband of Bella Johnson, who was a friend of Gladys and Mary Johnson, and I think he's in a tent. I can't pull him up. His son is Xavier Johnson. This is him. He's from the same hometown as Thomas. This is Lawrence McLaurin. You should already know him. He is Thomas's boyhood friend, as is Silas Swinson. Oh, Silas, who's not appropriately dressed in his uniform, but that's okay. He might have some other reason for dressing like that. I am not going to worry about it. This is John Winslow. You've not met him. He's a brand new character. There he is down with Xavier. And this is Harlan Winslow. A lot of siblings served in the same units in World War I, and they were actually very few units, all black units or colored units. So it would be appropriate for the two brothers to be together, as is the case with the Johnson family, their siblings, and their father and son, and they are together as well. And here's Thomas. There he is coming out of the tent. This is our heir, Thomas Johnson, looking quite dashing in his uniform. Now, I chose the beige because I think this is as close as I can get to a World War I uniform, and though Lawrence's hat might not be historically accurate, I do think that Harlan Winslow's hat is very appropriate for World War I. So this is the uniform that we're going with for the expeditionary forces of the war in Windenburg. And you may be asking yourselves, why? Why, America, are those men wearing heels? Well, the boots that American soldiers wore during World War I were fashioned after riding boots, not after hiking boots. And so they had a little heel as you would find on a pair of riding boots. So while this heel may be slightly narrow and feminine, it does represent a closer replica of what a World War I soldier would wear than your average flat-footed boot. So they are going with the heeled boots, as uncomfortable as those are. And let's get this war on. So it's pretty late in the decade. We won't stay here very long. I think we'll do 3 or 4 episodes here in World War I because Thomas is going to age up soon, so we don't want him to be here so long that he's aged up. And we know the decade has changed, and I'm just lying about the whole thing. So we'll try to play World War I pretty quickly. Just a few episodes, just a few weeks for you to watch, and then we'll move into the 1920s. Somebody's very angry. Oh, okay. Harlan, is that Harlan? Yes, I'm going to have trouble with Harlan and Winslow because I don't know them that well. So, whatever. So the pup tents that I created for this game are actually non-playable. You can find these in the Get Famous. I think in the Get Famous packet, but they may be in the debug menu, but they come into the game through Get Famous. And what I did with these is you can see I minimized and embedded a regular tent that comes with camping out, and I tucked it in here. And that way it still relatively looks historically accurate, but they can crawl into the pup tent because the proper tent activates that sleeping modality, so they can sleep in the pup tents, and everything looks very World War One-ish. And I'm going to back this up. Now, here are some beds outside. Not really sure who would want to sleep in beds under a tent, but I put them there just in case. And I also put the staff officer's desk right here because that's how they would do business and troop movements there. So all of these service members are colored men, African American men, black men, but at this time, for the most part, their officers would have been white. I chose not to use a white officer. You'll just have to use your imagination. And yeah, and that's where we are. I'm going to get our boys fed, and then we shall go off to war. Let's see. I'm really concerned about Thomas. These other guys are. I'm just not going to focus on them very much. We're just going to focus on Thomas. Whoa, hey, whoa. Ah, he burned his arm. Well, that's not going to get you a ticket home. Can somebody light this thing? Let's get Thomas to try again. So traditionally for the Decades Challenge, I actually watch a lot of Decades Challenges, and many people use a spin wheel to decide who is going to live and who's going to die. I don't know the copyright of using that spin wheel and recording it, so though I created a spin wheel, I'm not going to show it on air. So what I did was I spun the wheel 8 times and I wrote down the answers, and as we go through the war I will show you who dies and when. Yeah, if King likes fitness. I really need somebody to light this fire. King is the oldest, so he should be the most responsible. Can somebody light the fire? Oh, it looks like Mika Haas in the distance, a local girl. So I put that dock there, but I didn't actually think that they were going to be able to. Oh, they can't use it. Okay, I was thinking that suddenly the dock that I put there was in gameplay, but no. The dock that I put there in the build is right here. The cool thing about this is I put this dock on the very edge of the property, and yet it does go out to the beach, so that's pretty impressive. They're not going to be able to use that for sure, but I thought it was really cool in my build. So I've built 3 sets so far for telling this World War I story, and you can find those in my gallery. My gallery name is Spätzle 97, and that's Lawrence and John. Harlan. Lawrence and Harlan. Okay. Harlan and John are twin brothers, so if I can't tell them apart, I don't think you can tell them either, and that is okay. And nobody's lighting this fire. Come on, people. Oh gosh, he burned his arm. But I understand the danger, but could you light the fire anyway? Maybe? Is there anybody here with the skills to light the fire? Oh, he's angry. Okay, I don't care. Just light the fire. I'm just going to start assigning people to lighting the fire until the fire gets lit, because they're not going to eat otherwise. Oh, yeah, we're not burning money. There we go. Now the fire is lit. So let's get Thomas to... I want him to cook, really. I want him to make some roast. Good. Okay. So I think I'll have him roast some hot dogs. I don't know if that's historically accurate, but they gotta eat, and certainly we can't put a stove here. So hot dogs it is. And I think sausages would have existed at this time. I'm not sure how readily hot dogs would be available to service members, but certainly sausages would be, because they don't need... Oh man. Okay, forget it. We're going to our first battle. So what I did was create the Myshuno Marauders, and I'll talk a little bit about the name of that as we go along. But I want to start this because I want to get them over to the battle site. So here we go. They're supposed to go to the other property. Oh, he's still talking. Come on, man, stop talking. What are you doing? What is he doing? What was that? Oh, he's playing horseshoes. Okay, so here is our battleground. If you'd like a copy of this, it exists in my gallery. But basically, it's some bombed out buildings. You're seeing the first floor. Okay, here it is. So you can see that there are some campsites around. There are some fire sites around. There's some rough terrain. There is a little bit of everything here. So they should be able to do everything that they need to do here. But it is a war zone. There are some fireworks you will see go off after a while. I'm hoping that works. And basically anybody who comes here, we're just going to fight. I'm not going to try to dress them appropriately. You'll just have to think of those Windenburger folks as weird dressers. So yeah, let's see if we can find some people to fight. Don't know where they are. Oh, that guy. Who's the? Oh no, that's one of us. Okay. So this is the war zone. I'm gonna. Oh, let's bring John here. Okay, let's see what Lauren. And every time they engage in a fight, I think if they lose, that might be how they die. I haven't decided yet. I don't see other people here. It's a community lot. Not a whole lot is going on right now. Now, I hid treasures and drinks and toilets and all sorts of things in this area. So you should see a lot of eye candy. I also hid a place to sleep. Oh, he's looking at that mannequin like, what in the heck am I looking at right now? Okay, well, there are no people here. Not sure if we should stay or if we should go. What time is it? Okay, 7 p.m. Well, you can't fight at night. I did create this lot, or I changed this lot so that it's on a geothermal, volcanic, and earthquake zone because I wanted there to be a little bit of drama in the environment. So I know nothing's going on right now, and I think I'm about to send these guys home, but I did want to make it possible for bad things to happen on this site as they were on this site, to give it a little more of a realistic look. They're on patrol. Let's just say they're on patrol. And so this gives me a good opportunity to talk about the Myshuno Marauders. I named them the Myshuno Marauders in honor of the Harlem Hellfighters. If you don't know who the Harlem Hellfighters are, my recommendation is that you check that out on the internet because they have a fantastic history. So a couple of things happened with the Harlem Hellfighters. They were one of few African American troops. The military was segregated in World War I and of course World War II. And some of the troops, African American troops during World War I, went to the West because they were Buffalo soldiers, and there's rich history about Buffalo soldiers. But some of them went to France, and some of the ones that went to France were the Harlem Hellfighters. The Harlem Hellfighters were the most decorated units in the war, and basically during World War I, black service members were not given combat positions. They were given custodial and culinary positions because it was believed that that was the most they could handle, and that was based on racist notions of what African Americans could do. And so they were assigned as cooks and cleaners and grave diggers and different sorts of almost demeaning positions in the war, which they performed eloquently, but they also wanted to fight just like every other American boy. And so the French were the French forces were being depleted so quickly and so succinctly that they needed warm bodies to fill the front lines. And they welcomed the American forces into the war, but they wanted to send them to the front immediately, and they wanted to send the Harlem Hellfighters, but the leadership behind Harlem Hellfighters said no. You know, our colored troops don't go to the front lines. They don't have the mental capacity to do that. And so the French said, well, just put them under our command, and we'll take them to the front, and we'll be responsible for them, and it will be okay. And they did. And the African American troops served honorably, and many of them were decorated, and they served on the front lines of with the French troops during the war. And this really impacted the way that the French viewed African Americans, and it opened up avenues during the 1920s for African Americans to find a lot of equity and equality in France that they were not able to experience. Who's asleep? They weren't able to experience in America, in most parts of America. Another thing the Harlem Hellfighters were known for was music. Jim Europe, his name was James Europe, and he was a musician and orchestra conductor. He went to Europe to play music and to conduct a band. I don't think it's called an orchestra. It wasn't that big. But his band was a unit within the Harlem Hellfighters, and they were a very popular, very lively band. They did a lot of gigs all over Europe behind the expeditionary lines. And as the troops moved, as the Hellfighters moved, so did Jim Europe's band. And they are the primary reason why jazz was introduced to Europe. And that popularity of jazz grew over the years. It grew especially during the 1920s as a staple in Europe. A lot of it primarily came in the early years from Jim Europe's band. And Jim Europe died tragically and during a gig in Boston where they may or may not have been brothers. History isn't very clear on that, but they were fighting, and he was trying to stop the fight, and he got stabbed. He actually finished his set, and then he went behind the curtain and died. So he died tragically. He had an amazing funeral. It was a parade, and I'm going to send these guys home because there's just nobody here. His music lives on. So you can actually hear recordings of his music online, and he was very popular before the war, but I think the war solidified his worldwide notoriety. But he died shortly after the war. Okay, the troops are going home. Look at that troop movement. I like it. Okay, apparently they are going to walk home. So I'm going to end this episode here with the troops running down the hill. I think that's fantastic. Thank you so much for watching. Come on back for another part of the war in Windenburg, and take care now. Bye-bye.